but it was up against Berber Patapin, to be fair, who are a very strong squad. But it seems to be a pretty young team, have a lot of people helping on the backside to be able to like improve from the scrims, and to quote, like, they're a sponge in these kind of like scrim situations because of how quickly they improve, to the point that people don't really want to scrim them for that reason. But the pick bans, both teams opting to try and not get Magneto. Out of the two between him and Emma Frost, I'd probably say Magneto is the one to gun for the most, potentially, right?
Yeah, Magneto brings a lot of very valuable utility to the field with that projected bubble, the Iron Bulwark itself. And you know what? Yeah, we have heard on Rivals and Rants and other podcasts in the Marvel Rival sphere, shout out Vodable, that our Qadsiah are a team that are scaling like crazy right now. Like every single scrim, they seem to learn so much. Going to be a low-key ban coming out the other side. Both teams want to make sure that Emma is on the docket, and it's actually a very important pick here for Rand in particular, given that our Qadsiah have a predilection towards some of these melee heroes. Healer's hovering it right now. Very good on the Wolverine, very good on the Magic, and does trend over towards those heroes sometimes, but I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing it in this particular meta. Maybe in the dive meta long past at the end of season 2, it might have been the case. Not so much at the moment.
No. You also, like, the weird thing, I suppose, in this draft so far is probably the ban to Mantis, because we've sort of said, like, when it comes to sort of that main support, she's probably at the bottom of that tier list, maybe with Jeff in some cases, but you are using it for level 1 Crook specifically. It's one of his main characters. Even, like, during the Invitational, where Mantis was nerfed heavily after Season 0, Level 1 Crook was still doing a lot of work with her, and it also shuts down the idea of using like triple support, which is also something that Luminosity Gaming were pretty well known for when it came to playing like Shin Shibuya and those game modes. Yeah. They just would never go down in these fights. Their sustain was crazy, and with the protection of Loki and being able to ban it out too, means that you do have plenty of options to steal some of these ultimates. It's not looking likely that you're going to be taking the Lunar Snow one either. The Penny Park one, again, specifically, but trust me, he did pull it out a little bit in Fight Night when he played it, and with that Rocket Raccoon combo that level 1 Crook would naturally go to, it's surprisingly strong.
I mean, yeah, Penny has that new team up, gets that second spider nest, and that means that you can expand your domain as well. Once you're in the cyberweb snares, like those autonomous spider mines can kind of move interchangeably between those areas of territory and really pour into someone who steps foot in any part of the web. Krakoa is going to be where we begin our round here. Of course, Domination is always going to be our first map here at Marvel Rivals Ignite EMEA, at least in our group stage, subject to change, of course, and then we'll be going through a rotunda of maps chosen by the loser. You can choose either Convergence or Convoy, and then you've got to choose the remaining map type for map number 3 if we get there.
Yeah, and that's the same with best of 5s when we get to them, and best of 7s and stuff too. Getting through all of the game modes before you can move back. You can't play the same map again. Like you said, Domination always the first one we go to, so it really is just a great way to warm up these teams to just take chunks out of each other. And for these two, you sort of expect Rad to be one of the teams to qualify at least top 4. I could see a dark horse to be making playoffs for sure, so this is a hell of a series to have on day 1.
Ooh, Naga coming out on the Ultron. We know that he's got the aim to try and make it work. Could be, this is of course going to be the classic triple strategist. We often see Ultron play kind of a faux duelist role, as well as giving over that additional staying power to a frontliner such as Trust Me. Rajaro might be taxing the LOS a little bit more.
Guardians running from Qadsiah, triple support, being able to sort of bring back a lot of people there. The Maluki's being able to pull it out and stop level 1 Crook from being able to take this fight. So Healers, yeah, a lot of pressure to do this damage as the Star-Lord, pretty much going in face first a little bit, not too much of the point to hide behind. So he's taking a good chunk of damage, but like I just mentioned, free supports, they should keep you alive, right?
Okay, that backline now under siege. Captain America moves in first, survives by the skin of their teeth. Must be getting that Ultron drone just at the end of this. Melio, dashes into a tree. Bungles with disengage, yes, but that's going to be an imperative firewall to give that additional HP to try and make this one work. Healers playing this very, reserved right now, not wanting to dive too far into Team Rad. Qadsiah just trying to fill this one out for now. Lindstrom opens up with the Eternal Bond, but already lost Maloki. Will be able to res himself thanks to the Eternal Bond given over by the Adam Warlock. And for now, Qadsiah, their Vanguard line has managed to find purchase in the midst of all of this. Lindstrom just hangs out behind the side log. A little bit of a prank there, bro. Don't worry about it. And the Exterminator elimination protocol coming out from Naga. Unable to really find any final blows. For damage is good, yes, but the sustainability, not so much, and Helis just tracks down their prey.
And that was Team Rad starting that fight with the ultimates. I think level 1 Crook using the God of Mischief to copy. I think he copied the invisible boundary because there was a lot of them on the screen for a brief second. And it was just Qadsiah being able to sort of cut through. And the thing that even with the triple supports you have that like sustain, being able to resurrect Helis and Maluki off the rip, but also the damage that Tilt can do over on Adam Warlock can't be ignored, especially with the right click. So that burst damage, Melio has a lot of work to do. You can see him try and dive into the backlines, but really those HP bars are not diving down at all.
Okay, trust me. Leaving the Emma behind, instead moving over onto the group, allowing Rojaro to pick up those duties. Kaya, oh, he's bashing away with a Sentinel strikes. A monster in the back line. Out comes the Galactic Legend. Of course, it's had its range extended, and it forces out the regeneration domains from the Loki. Preemptive resurrections coming through from Tilt brings Milk Boy back into the fight when he's needed the most. You need the bulk of this Emma Frost to try and make sure that you can hold this point at ransom. Kaya into the back, could be overwhelmed, still has their dash to try and get on out, jumps over the wall. The erection of the wooden Colossus not really having that much bearing on Captain America in this case.
It just slipped out from Trust Me, trying to just almost bait these overextensions from Qadsiah, but they're being really reserved in this approach. Even if we do see Rad taking this fight off the back of the Strangling Prison from Trust Me, they're still able to get 75% on the board. It was a really good fight. It's like Qadsiah, just the way that they're able to take these engagements and know when the battle's lost. Like, you could sort of tell from the last series to this one that these teams are very familiar with how each other play.
Yeah, Healer's getting their swap in here to the Wolverine as well. When it comes to Wolverines in Europe, Team Captain and Healers are the ones that come to mind first and foremost. And of course, very good against the group, but Naga going to be able to very effectively ignore that Wolverine just by being this constant aerial threat on the Johnny Storm. The Human Torch is laying down so much damage.
Kaya's just trying to find like an opening, but there's just so many bodies, especially with these Loki clones. It's just hard to find the right kind of target. Force out some of these like bigger cooldowns, especially with a supernova available for Naga. It's just finding a position where everybody's grouped up that these fire tornadoes could do quite a lot, but there's no need to sort of push the envelope now for Rad. They have control of the point. Now that that psionic seduction's being used, some of those ultimates might start to follow suit in a second. But it is that one to begin with. Now we do see the Loki ultimate used to try to copy stuff up, more of the support ultimates to keep going. But nobody has gone down just yet from either side.
Everyone Krug in the midst of all of this. Melee around the back has the dance for butterflies ready to go. The segment isn't able to be answered. However, oh, the pace from Trust Me. Yet another strangling prison drags in Milk Boy by themselves. They managed to pick up the frag off the back of it. Tilt caught inside the dance of the butterflies. So Soulbond does everything that's needed. And a touch more on top of that. An attempt to dash away from a sedation just means there's a flying sleep there for Melio. And the landing's far from soft. Still finds Lindstrom in the back. An attempt at a resurrection to try and keep this one going. Tilt brings back 3 players. Healers, Lindstrom, Maluki all return to the fray, but it's still Team Rad who are in control of the point here. An early pick onto Naga would be everything.
Yeah, Rad used everything ultimate-wise. They're very close to having another God of Mischief. That's what they started the fight with. But now they're on this objective. Milkboy went down early, couldn't use the psionic seduction himself, so now he gets another chance. But just as the point is hit overtime, Naga just using these trees to try to hide, to keep things alive, maybe allow the rest of Rad, especially Rajaro finding a pick onto Healers, to find these openings.
All right, out comes the copy from level 1. Crook managing to grab the invisible boundary from their teammate in Fate, trying to chase down these strategists. Yeah, there's a wall to
them off the point.
Damage going. They can't touch the point. They finally get themselves back onto here. Easy headshots for the Mantis, but it's an easy failing as well in the hands of Naga, just held aloft above the barbecue by the Emma Frost. Milk Boy just managing to brawl out on the point. The Emma Frost so good when the fight started to degenerate and has that high charge. Team Raz, they've got ults to try and turn this one around though.
I mean, well played, I think, from Qadsiah. That's a hard point when it's in overtime. When you've just got the likes of a Human Torch, you can just sit on the point and just throw fireballs at you from a distance, and you're playing your only DPS is Wolverine because you've got Tilt over on the Adam Warlock. Being able to teleport in is going to be a key side. And Healers can maybe just last stand to catch people as they try and jump in.
Going to be a pincer maneuver as well for Groot coming in from the other side with a strangling prism. They didn't see it coming. Tilt was caught out at the worst possible time. An invisible boundary has to try and save the Groot after being caught by the feral leap of the Wolverine. And Naga's cooking up a storm over here as well. Maluki under pressure just tries their best to fade away with the help of the cloak and dagger. A last stand, a last-ditch saloon from Helis, an attempt to try and walk away with this point, but Team Rad are in control. They have the numbers, they have the territory, they have the resources, and they have the round.
Really nice back and forth there. The play, like you said, the two-pronged approach with the Strangling Prison was gorgeous, I think, from Rad, especially because, like, that's hard to coordinate. You saw with the point finally being taken over by Qadsiah right at the end, it was an awkward disengagement for Rad to try to survive, but I love the approach of, like, the group being like, I'm still just gonna go, like, route one, you guys can use the portal, and so much focus naturally went on that portal play, it just allowed Trust Me to just sneak in. Qadsiah, I thought they might have a little bit of an opening here with how well I think they played the draft to get some of those key characters out, but this Rad team showing that flexibility that we were talking about in the pre-show really came to save them there and give them that first point.
Great play to bring it back. Rads, we talked about them being a bastion of consistency in EMEA. If you expect a good performance, you are always going to be delivered upon by this Rad roster. They rarely have a bum day. That much is for certain.
I think especially with teams like Bubba Papin,
the opposite.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like their highs are higher, but their lows are lower. Rad, you sort of always know what you're getting with them, and I think that's like a pretty decent approach from like historically how this team is done too.
All right, for now, for jostling for the point, Trust Me is going to be moving up to that front line position. Already opening up, of course, with the dance of the butterflies. It's easily counted out here. Oh, even on the disengaged Melio. Oh, he's feasting no matter what happens. It feels like one of it. It's like the domino superpower, you know, lucking into a frag here and there. Great knockouts delivered.
A little bit of a falling upwards moment for Melio, but you take the eliminations that you can get at Psylocke. But I think the strength of what Rad has had going for them, especially in that first point, and it's going to be evident here as well, is just like sitting on this objective. It's going to be really hard to root them, especially with the comp that Qadsiah is going for. It's a little bit more straightforward now with a 2-2-2. You've got Tilt moving over to the Bucky instead. Just being able to catch people out. And if they could CC Melio and stop him from getting these like resets going, it's going to be the way in.
Healer's grabbed early. That's kind of Rajaro's task right now. Defend, Trust Me, with your life. Use that Carbon Crush to put Logan on ice whenever it's needed. Nice. Oh, the Strangling Prison constantly just put onto Maluki, onto Milk Boy by themselves. Trust Me, realizing the value there and getting a single pick is more than enough. This is very aggressive here from Melio. Doesn't really have much means of disengaging from this fight. He's going to use one of their dashes here.
Oh my God.
Out comes the Regeneration Domain, Sentinel Strike. It's an absolute smorgasbord of ultimates in here. Chaos, organized, yes, but perhaps all good just for same. Lindstrom's just going to move over towards the point right now, start this backcapping. It's already contested. We're all over the shop right now on this map. I'm not sure exactly where everyone is. An attempt at a feral leap. It's going to put down a lot of damage onto that Emma Frost. Rajaro soon to fall, but Tilt's fallen elsewhere, and you know what? It's going to be a flip in favor of Qadsiah.
Yeah, forcing out some of those ults, especially the main ones, you know, Silent Seduction from Milkboy just used at the end there, Eternal Bond, really for Lindstrom to get out. The Rad losing a point on 70%, but they have 4 ultimates available and ready to go, and the first one with Rajaro, he can shut down everything that Qadsiah has available to them. Not even be needed.
Line. Unreal damage coming out from Melio. Great play coming through. Helis and Milkboy soon to join their compatriots in the spawn room. And, well, Rad are looking to be in a dominant position.
Dance of the Butterfly just doing so much. It's just the fact that he finds the elimination and then going into the ult. It's this flurry, and Qadsiah, whether you dedicate to the fight, double down, whether you just try and disengage and reset for this final engagement, makes things awkward. And especially here, you're now stuck in this room for the teleport. Sonic Seduction, Muse, but Invisible Boundary, Supernova, all thrown on top of each other. Columned through as the point is ticking up for Rad to be taking this first map of Krakoa. Qadsiah just trying to get something together. They're able to touch the point at the very least, but how much more are you going to be able to do with these guys just throwing everything down at you.
Nago is doing teleporter admin in the midst of all of that. Maluki might be in trouble here. Melio is going to be able to disengage away from that Carbon Crush. Not kicked into a wall, so the damage not quite delivered. Tilt, however, not so lucky. Unable to disengage after teleporting in with the pentagram of Farala. Despite the meat of so many Vanguards, it's a well-honed steak knife that's been charged here by Team Rad, who with their consistency and skill are able to take away Krakoa.
Yeah, it looked a little bit rusty, I suppose, from Rad. It's like that first point was a lot more like contested. This one felt a little bit more to the standard that we expect from Rad. We haven't seen much of these teams play recently, especially since like the new patch has come in. So, you know, Human Torch especially was seen as like the main character from these last couple of goes. But you saw a clear example there, I think, of like where the meta is going. Like, okay, the tanks that you want to take out, like Emma Frost is still incredibly strong. All of these like specific supports that you're gunning for with like level 1 Krug taking out his Mantis, trying to go for the Guardians like triple support, trying to go for a little bit of like Ultron to begin with. It really did sort of show like where these teams are trying to lean towards. And Melio, I mean, the Psylocke worked for him a wonder, and Naga showing the Human Torch is still one of the top DPS in the game.
Yeah, even with the nerfs, far from gone, even up against the resurrection composition. If you keep resurrecting, that just means that I keep getting the knockouts again and again. It was a spirited performance, though, from our Qadsiah. I'm excited to see where they take us to, given that they've got a couple of players on their roster who kind of have their specialist predilections when it comes to their hero plays. Maybe there's a world where you try and avoid something like Spider Islands, where the Penny is a necessary ban. I'm excited to see potentially some Penny Parker play from Team Rad. But I think that's going to be constantly accosted by our Qadsiah in our ban phase.
Yeah, and also like for this game mode, it makes sense that once you're Penny Parker, you're set up on the point, you might as well pull up a deck chair and just relax because it's so hard for the other team to take it back. Once we get to these like payload moving maps, the Penny Parker's like stonks do go down ever so slightly. So yeah, I'm the same. Like I'm curious of whether they would go that far to ban out, or whether they just keep gunning for like level 1 Crux picks and just be like, you can't play the fun support. You got to be stuck on like one character, which I know that they don't like. They like to be the flexible guy.
Yeah, level 1 Crook had a lot of value previously. Out of that Mantis, we saw the target ban. Level 1 Crook was like a Mantis enthusiast, and we saw Maluki play a little bit of it in the previous map as well, so she certainly has that in her pool. We'll have to see if there's any adaptation when it comes to our ban phase now as well, because of course, you're only banning for the other team. It's not universal bans, so you can really try and craft a proper matchup where maybe you have an advantage. Some matches could be won in the draft, and we'll see if that's going to be the case for map 2 after this break. The Maluki fan troop is out in force, and hoping that they'll be able to see her for a map number 3, because Rad are currently on match point in our best of 3 series here at Marvel Rivals Ignite EMEA.
Yeah, and now we get to see what Qadsiah have sort of been working on, I suppose. These two teams also coming through the first set of open qualifiers as well, means that it's kind of like a tough one outside of the teams that were invited from the championship, from the invitational. It's like whoever's left, some of the teams, you know, building new rosters or changing some of the main names. This is like a brutal game, to be honest, for both squads to be able to go on and do this kind of damage. But one's got to continue on, one's going to drop down to the elimination. Qadsiah being able to choose the next map. It can't be domination, as we've sort of highlighted. They've gone for symbiotic services convergence, which feels again like the go-to, and Magneto the go-to for the first ban for both teams.
This is going to be a must-ban Penny map as well. It's just going to be the case, unfortunately. This is one of the best areas in the game for Penny. Well, maybe, unless our Qadsiah are like, maybe they're cooking like a bait on the Penny here. Maybe we've got a counter strat, but it is, it's very good against what Healers and Tilt love to run. We are, of course, going to be seeing the Protect on the Emma Frost on both sides. You can choose to ban away the Magneto, but you can't get away from the whole team up. Maybe there's a world where we see the Psylocke banned as well from our Qadsiah, but it seems like they are going to be putting a lot of prevalence towards getting rid of those strategists.
Yeah, I mean, Melio Psylocke for the first point didn't seem like it was getting that much done, but I think just the way that Rad played that second objective, like by the cradle, it just sort of allowed them to keep it snowballing and keep it rolling with some of the resets. Some lucky areas for sure, but you know, Melio just found the opportunities to work with. So for now, Rad being able to work with the Loki and denying it completely from Qadsiah might put a little bit more pressure on their backline supports, especially because Luna Snow's got to be available either. Means that, again, it feels that we've got to see like Maluki and Lindstrom flexing over to some of the less than popular supports.
Oh, deliberation happening in the team. Do we ban the Penny Parker? And indeed, it is going to be the case here. Qadsiah, feel the fear. However, I don't know if Team Rad are actually going to counterban it. Don't know if Qadsiah will have been scrimming that one. A Punisher Protect here, just allowing for that control of the lane with a long-range poke. Of course, he has been recently buffed as well. The mag size has been extended by 10 on the assault rifle, meaning that you really can chunk down some Vanguards on their approach.
There's the Psylocke ban as well. But like, it's not as if Melio is just like somebody that can only play within that role. Looking for like those initial lock-ins, seems that it's still going to be some things looking about the same for the most part. Melio being able to go for the Psylocke themselves and denying it means that it's going to be uncomfortable. Milk Boy actually decided to go for the Penny Parker themselves, so maybe they are well versed in how they work from like scrims and stuff, that they want to just imitate, I suppose, what Trustme's been able to do.
I mean, Milk Boy has been a real standout player in like the second generation of Marvel Rivals esports players, I think, when it comes to really standing out as a Vanguard. I think was playing on Dusty during the Marvel Rivals Invitational was kind of the bright spot for their roster. And I believe previously was the co-Vanguard of Fincy back when they rolled on Niceland in the ancient history of MRC Season 0. Team Rad going to be defending first here. Milk Boy, I imagine, won't be using the offensive Penny. It's just giving over additional armor, because of course if you use the better spawn from the rocket beacon, it gives you 50 armor per. Maybe you could actually run it on the offense. It would be a little bit niche now if they're going to get away from it.
Or they were defending first, potentially, considering they really get to sort of choose the side as well. But I mean, the strange portal makes a lot of sense, placing it in the position that Rad aren't necessarily looking at, but you imagine that they're going to react accordingly. Jumping through, the CC attempted, I think, from the Emma Frost, but Milk Boy's the one that finds that first pick onto level 1 Crux of the Loki down in his first fight.
And Healers essentially going to be able to come straight on back through the portal. I imagine if the timing is solid. And however, Naga getting a little bit aggressive here, wants in onto the Punisher. Flame clusters impact onto body armor, but it's rated for in this case. Trust me, and Rajaro, they seem to have made a slightly unsupported push. The rest of Rad is just going to be forced to disengage here. Fate fades over into the night, of course, can become invisible for as long as they do want. And it is going to be Crook actually investing themselves on the point, using the regeneration domain. Healers just carves through them with the adamantium strikes. Weapon X skin as well, looking good there. Healers and Qadsiah strong on the recontest. Kaya will be able to portal.
Yeah, it really did feel that we were sort of watching Naga's POV just up in highline, like completely uncontested, able to throw down a lot of that damage. I mean, they're still trying to hold on for time as much as possible, but it seems to be delaying the inevitable for Qadsiah to take this first point. But the sustained healing that's coming in from Qadsiah, from Lindstrom and Maluki, both of which have their ultimates, and trying to hold on to them. They feel that this first point is sort of taken, but this is a good fight back. Last stand from Healers being used to try to dissipate the point to take some of this contest, but the fight is still ongoing. Rather doing a good job to just buy some time and force out some of these ultimates, but eventually Qadsiah get this payload moving.
Around the pillar with the adjudication. And certainly adjudicating upon Melio right now. Team Rad, they are going to have a Firestorm. The Supernova coming through from Johnny Storm, but they might need slightly more than that to try and halt this momentum.
Yeah, Melio swapped over to Punisher to see if he can sort of copy it on the other side. You don't have that team up with Rocket Raccoon anymore, so you don't really have that much pressure on you. And often it's slept on with like the small buff that he got, like you mentioned, like they. Now it's these ultimates to whether or not Qadsiah can keep things going. The Supernova is going to be used as a response. Obviously, it's going to be hard for the Psionic Seduction to be able to pull them down. Rajaro finding that first pick over onto Lindstrom, as well with the Eternal Bond in hand, means that now Team Rad are going to defensively take back this payload.
Okay, so this is big value. 2 ultimates to get a defensive position here is actually a bargain on Symbiotic Surface. You can do so much with the surrounding high grounds of the second point here when the convoy starts moving itself. However, for the side of Qadsiah, do you want to try and invest something like a portal to try and skip the dishes here? Or you can just buy all of his positioning using it like the Last Judgment.
Really, it's just the lack of damage that's done to Naga because of the focus that really comes in. Like, sure, you've got Tilt that does have that ultimate to go with. It does feel like a little bit like Qadsiah trying to consolidate their position a little bit, but just as the judgment was used, you lose Kaya, that main tank. Rad is the one that's going to be able to clean up this fight fairly comfortably, just as Tilt had used his own ult, and Eternal Bond got used from Lindstrom.
Oh, this is a real roughie for the side of Qadsiah, losing out the Eternal Bond and the Last Judgment. Oh, it's not looking amazing here.
It's like you sort of said, the position that the defensive team's being able to take. You just see these like spots that Naga's being able to fly behind. Hearing the portal means that they sort of flip the spawns to an extent, but Rad seemed very comfortable in being able to deal with it. Building up towards having the supernova to work with an invisible boundary means that wherever this fight might take place, Rad are going to be somewhat comfortable.
Yeah, attempt at a teleport to turn around right here, almost full dark energy, becoming invincible in the face of CC. It's the diamond form of the Emma. Frost trying to turn it around with a carbon crush. It's a big play off the back of the Eye of Agamotto. 2 players stunned, but there was already regeneration domain in play, and Kaya's been punished for such audacious maneuvers pulled off from the high ground Maluki. She's down in the firestorm now, and survival's not on the cards when Naga's cooking. Lindstrom's going to be the last to fall, and 2 minutes remain for Qadsiah.
This comfortable strangling prison, it's all that Rad have for the time being, but the way that level 1 Crook's been able to farm up these Loki ultimates, it's not going to be too long away before you have that to work with either. Really, it's a question of like, are Qadsiah going to change up any of like their comp really, and it's not really so far. They're trying to keep things the same, and just as things are starting to come online for this attacking side, like Milk Boy just getting a silent seduction, it's used on the other side. Rather doing a really good job of being proactive with these picks and these fights. Qadsiah almost not expecting Rad to just go in on them so hard so quickly.
Like a pack of wolves, they find a stray who was too far from the herd, knocked back by Naga and isolated by that sonic seduction. Healer's cooking right now. Once he gets full rage, you better believe that last stand's going to be coming on out. Damage reduction used, an attempt to grab. Out comes the final judgment here. And Melio's already been taken down by the damage from Maluki. She managed to get it exactly where it needed to be. And trust me, oh, he's going to have to trust that the respawn room is awaiting a quick carbon crush into the wall of a level 1 Crook becomes level 0 HP.
I mean, that was really well played from Milk Boy. There was a couple of moments that Rad like almost pulled it back there. Like you saw the psionic seduction, but it didn't get level 1 Crook. He was able to get the copy on his invisible woman to put an invisible boundary down, but unfortunately a couple of people just went down too early as that was happening. Milk Boy finding the openings to work with, and now that the payload's moving again, you have some fantastic ultimates to work with. If you can find a fight just before this invisible boundary is available for Fate, you might be able to get to this 3rd point.
Cheeky little supernova perhaps, but you just want to try and stay away from this final judgment. The Punisher's just pushing out so much damage. Trust me, yeah, brings up the Ironwood wall. That's going to be plenty of healing as well. It's going to be answered.
He's not going down.
Invisible boundary from both teams. Plenty of sustainability. Going inside, getting a little bit naughty with it is Naga. But when it comes to naughtiness, oh, the master of mayhem's going to be Kaya. Bringing out the Eye of Agamotto, stunning multiple members. And it's easy cleanup for Qadsiah. We just have to get rid of Rajaro, and this is going to be finished on 3rd point.
I am getting some deja vu watching Rad though, and some of these engagements, like it's a different team name, but it's the same LT from the Invitational, just being an absolute slog in these fights. And Qadsiah doing really well to just find the sustain to go through. You saw that like final judgment, nobody was going down. Trust me, was taking all of the damage as grew, and it wasn't quite cutting through. Things are moving at the very least. A minute to go for Qadsiah to try to get to the end of the map, but realistically it's about getting as far as you can. Certainly past this first choke where Team Rad really want this to stop.
Okay, Sonic Seduction. Is it going to grab anyone is the question. Healer's going to be the first victim. However, seems to be able to avoid most of the damage coming through from Melio. The Eternal Bond, pretty perfect here from Qadsiah. Just answering all that incoming damage. Vulnerability applied to multiple members. Seems like it's mostly going to be survivable. A final judgment was brought out too till it takes out their counterpart from Rad. But Naga's trying to turn it around in their own right. Healers has got full rage and a little bit of feral leap to work with. Berserk State onto Rajara. You can't stand up to a percentage-based damage. An X up into the air and X's Naga out of this one as the cart keeps moving.
It's not only the damage that Helis did there, you saw it from Melio's perspective. He went and looked behind him because of Helis jumping into the backline. He was just pulled away from the pack and just taken down instantly by the poke damage that's been done by Tilt. He almost has another final judgment to work with, and yet again, this attacking side having so many good ultimates to pave things forward. Naga with the supernova, Fate on the cusp of another invisible boundary yet again. It's whether this first kill goes their way or not.
Diamond form used. Tilt's going to be putting out so much damage. Naga, yes, gets mind controlled by the Sonic Seduction, but the follow-up's not going to be there. And the Supernova's putting down too much damage onto the cart right now. Tilt getting all the pocketing that's necessary. Oh, it's five members stunned by the Eye of Agamotto. Kaya opened their third eye, and they saw all the possible futures. Pick the one where it's winnable, but Naga's trying to change the time stream right here and now. Looking like Doom 2099 out here as the beam is applied and the Guardian shield keeps showing safe from the air for a moment longer. For now, though, Fate overwhelmed by the damage. The sonic beams of Emma Frost are too much to stand up to for the Invisible Woman, and Naga's just forced to hide in the trees. A quick zip line away to get this one going. The Eternal Bond's got loads of sustainability for El Qadsiah when they need it most. There's a final stand in the back as well. If healers can only build up the rage, it will be all that they need. I believe that Rajaro just got absolutely fragged out of their ultimate crook. Oh, trust me, he's nowhere near. And El Qadsiah find themselves a miracle push.
I mean, that was such a good Eye of Agamotto that came in just for Al Qadsiah to get them over the line. They had no information to work off. You've got two invisible boundaries on top of each other like a Venn diagram. For Kaya, that just has to be instinct, that has to be timing, and a little bit of luck, frankly, to pull it out there to get 5 people stunned. It just takes all of the strain and sustain away from Rad, and it allows Helis and Tilt to find those picks. It was a good map pretty much for them start to finish. It was a little bit of a dip in the middle when Melio switched over to go for the Punisher himself. But I have to say, for Lindstrom there, like the healing output that he was putting out with Cloak and Dagger, I don't know how many ultimates he had in the end. It would have been like 5 or 6, I think.
I mean, it's reflected in the stats. Look at this.
33.
Wowie. That's kind of wild, not going to lie. Tilt also looking good on the Punisher right now. Less raw damage than Melio, yeah. But when it comes to those final hits, sitting on 12 right now.
Yeah, I think it says a lot as well. Like, Naga, we were watching that POV a lot with Human Torch. Pretty like Resident Sleeper gameplay of just throwing fireballs at the floor. He's top of damage, like 20k. You're watching him, it just looks like he's just trickling damage from a distance. But over the course of a map, it really adds up, especially if nobody's really focusing on him. So now with things flipped around, finishing the map, didn't quite do it as fast as Schmungus did a little bit earlier, but finishing the map is very hard to do, especially on that final area.
Looks like Rad are not going to be opting for an initial engagement here off the back of a portal. Instead, they're going to do it the old-fashioned way and just scout out and then butt heads.
Gotta appreciate a blunt approach.
Big grab here onto the Doctor Strange could be everything. Naga trying to cook it in. Grabs exactly what they wanted. Got the extra jump pack from the Rocket Raccoon. Kaya too far gone, yes, but still has the Cloak of Levitation. And in the midst of all of this, while the focus was elsewhere, trust me, falls through the cracks. It's going to be traded out now, though. Oh, it's been a passive burn, though. Naga with a little bit less survivability for forthcoming rounds.
It looked like I was maybe about to just slip out of safety there, but no, Naga wasn't letting up. His target focus is good, and you can really just see how much of a panic it is. There's the CC. There's pretty much why it's almost a first pick, a first save for Emma Frost in a lot of these engagements, to stop healers from being able to bludgeon people down. Al Qadsiah still holding on. Rad not making any progression on the point so far, but forcing out an invisible boundary here whilst you have people resetting is a good look, because they're going for the counter-attack.
It's going to be matched by the Eternal Bond here. That's Crooks one, copied over from Favor's going to have their own in response. It seems like Lindstrom wants to get stuck in here, but Maluki's already fallen down. She couldn't take the pressure. Oh, from downtown, a big final stand, but so worried about getting mind control by the Sonic Seduction that they head elsewhere. Level 1 Crook right now has quite the view from up top, and that's a massive play from the group. Multiple players going to be mind controlled by the Sonic Seduction. Milkboy used it to peel for themselves, but the overwhelming tide of players from Rad just cannot be stood up to.
Managed to sort of burn through everything. Sonic Seduction from Milkboy used at the end, but it wasn't quite enough. Trust me, not on the penny park as he might want to be, but he's so flexible on other stuff, and Groot here especially up against Wolverine still managing to make it work. It sometimes feels that that's really no answer to it. But just the fights that they're taking, you got the final judgment to keep things going. Qadsiah need to be aware of it and look for the timings themselves. Kaya, it'd be nice to see another like 5-person Eye of Agamotto, but this is a really hard position to do it in.
All right, Rajaras have their diamond form forced already. That's a little bit of an opening here for Kaya, but it's going to be closed quite quickly by the final judgment. The damage too much to try and bear. It has to be a DC. Oh, they're served up on a platter by Naga. Oh, the plate is filled and it's absolutely clean when Melio's done jumping.
I mean, you're watching that as Qadsiah, and you're just looking how uncomfortable it is to be stuck on that corner with the final judgment just looming down on you, and then just the sideswipe from Naga to CC everybody and make it a very clean ultimate for Melio. Being able to shut the door on him as well means that this rotation has to come from a very awkward angle. You do have your own final judgment, so the high ground can be nice here, but you also need to be able to contest this point. Otherwise, it's going straight through to point 3.
A lot of resources, with the exception of Trust Me, who almost has this ready to go. Big grab onto Kaya. Now you're missing a huge amount of bulk. Can you even touch the point at this seam? It seems like they've managed to do it in this case. Trust Me still holding on to that strangling prison when it might be the most necessary, but it seems like with both their vanguards already down, Qadsiah are going to be lacking the bulk to try and make this one happen. Getting up close and personal. Melio with adjudication and absolute prejudice slays most of Qadsiah.
You've still got stuff to boot, right? You've still got your Eternal Bond that's about to be up for fate. Level 1 Crook having a copy means that you might see 2 of them at this rate. And Melio, I think, only reasonably using the final judgment, 60% having it this way. It feels that this is a bit more snowballing. Qadsiah need to try and control the narrative a little bit more. You have the ultimates to do so, but Kaya, every time he's looked to try and go for a big Eye of Agamotto, he's been CC'd out and taken apart. Same thing has happened here again. Naga's just finding these picks nicely over on the Wolverine.
Crazy grab onto Milk Boy, and of course the isolation when you grab someone is so much greater with the Groot. You just bring up a couple walls behind them, and suddenly the enemy supports. The enemy strategists just have to carve through those to even deliver a Malika. Where's the healing for Trust Me? Oh, just up too far. Rajara are just going to try and do their best to try and make this one work. Milk Boy delivered onto the car to stall it for a moment longer. Not sure if Naga fully intended for that one, but the Eternal Bond has arrived just in time. Maybe try to shut down the Eternal Bond right here. A little bit of healing, a little bit of pocketing, heading over towards these Punishers, but Melio's getting closer and closer. It's another big attempt at the Eye of Agamotto, but it's not the same magic we saw before from Kaya. The Sorcerer Supremes ran out of juice, and Naga's looking to feast on that Capri Sun. Rolling it down now with the weapons. It seems like there's been enough sustainability here for Qadsiah to hold on for a moment longer. Attrition wins the day.
Better late than never. Qadsiah retaking control. Yeah, I do feel it was a little bit of an overextend from Trust Me. They pushed him all the way back to spawn doors. I thought he was just going to put a wall there, really just seal the door and maybe seal this map for them potentially. But there was no healing that came in. It felt that everybody was spread, whether that's healers just being in a backline pulling people apart. Qadsiah now have a lot to do. They need to not overthink these ultimates. They can't go for the big ones ever. Psionic Seduction, it's a great time to just be preemptive, to try and shut things down. But it feels that Rad are just able to dodge it, not take any casualties and go for the counterattack.
Oh, strangling prison here. Grabs one. That's Lindstrom who's down. Naga looking to try and make something work in the midst of all this, but inside the invisible boundary, no one can see you scream. And well, they're screaming lots when Milk Boy grabs him by the throat with the Carbon Crush.
Yeah, good work. I was a little bit worried after that Psionic Seduction. Rad just seemed to just hold Ace back out a little bit, go for the strangling prison, find a pick. But the resets were good. These team fights for Qadsiah have been pretty solid for the most part, and now the Lindstrom having his 147th Eternal Bond to work with for the last 5 minutes should be enough sustain to keep things alive, and especially when you got the final judgment to try and fight things. Whether you just get caught by the Psionic Seduction, you can tell that they're backing up to try and avoid it.
Yeah, Token levy so much damage right here. Psionic Seduction to try and answer from Rajaro, but guess who's CC immune? Frank in the final judgment is going to lay down a lot of damage. The shield at this point is only hypothetical from the Emma Frost. An attempt to try and carve through this one till overwhelmed by the focus fire. And now Melio is free to feast on all that remain. It's easy clappings right now for Melio, giving a little bit of airborne power, courtesy of healers. Thanks for the boosty, bud. I'll be putting that to good use.
Whether there should be enough for one final fight. Milkboy switching over to the Captain America. Even Till just leaping in just for another second. Kaya having the Eye of Agamotto just up on the low ground, really. Strangled Prison's going to pull him off of it. So realistically, it's just Milkboy's the Captain America being able to contest for the second. Eye of Agamotto's going to come through. It does get level 1 Krokonaga, who does have that last stand. But it doesn't matter if Melio's just chirped up on the high ground. He's cutting through the sides on this map. And it's looking like it's just going to be a case of 50 seconds between the two sides. Qadsiah holding on for about 2.5, 3 minutes on that final objective, but too much damage was done early there from Rad.
Yeah, Maluki manages to earn the invisible boundary just at the end, but no one's on the mission area to really contest it. So in the end, all that healing is for naught. But Qadsiah, an impressive defense on third. They drained, I believe it was about a 4-minute time bank down to only a single minute to make this final round a lot more competitive.
Yeah. And I think to an extent for Qadsiah, you're feeling relatively comfortable still in the sense that you took the point very cleanly the first time around. You might not get that luxury here. They should be going first because they have the lower time bank. So Rad sort of are the ones to dictate where this map finishes. Sort of a brief look at the damage. Melio, like the Psylocke early on was a bit of one of the reasons why Qadsiah took the first point so quickly, but ever since he's moved over to the Punisher, it's been a very different story.
Oh, there are going to be stories aplenty coming out of this one.
60k healing, Lindstrom.
Yeah, that is wild. Melio on 24 final hits now as well. Of course, McBoy's going to be handing out these armor packs to anyone who wants them. Get some additional staying power in this first fight. Of course, Qadsiah, the main difference we've seen thus far is that they often take these teleporter engagements as opposed to LG or Rad rather, who prefer to go for the tried and true Grug approach.
We're seeing the Moon Knight, right? There's a face.
Maybe it's to go through portal and just put down a huge amount of AoE damage. Well, seems to work out against Crook. You know, you're going up against a Loki, so why not exploit all of those doppelgangers and use them to bounce those crescent darts? Hello. Naga's cooking for a little bit. A little bonk. They bonked everyone's heads. They hit themselves. Healer's stunned out of this one. But most of Qadsiah, they've just stumbled out onto a point. They've already got themselves a first tick here, moving in towards Kaya. You know, he's public enemy #1 for Naga. He's going to opt instead for Lindstrom on this. Is that an eternal bond already? Damn!
Yeah.
Calm down, let him breathe.
I mean, Tilt did so much damage to get the Hand of Khonshu available. Fate just healed it all up. They both had their ultimate super quick. Like, watch it back in the VOD if you get a second. Because, like, that was a really good idea, I think, from Qadsiah. Like, Tilt getting that damage in. Like, granted, Hand of Khonshu's a hard ultimate to sort of work when you get a hold of it. But it just was healed up massively by the Cloak and Dagger.
Clutch touch here coming through from Kaya, but no one else can make it in time. The Hand of Khonshu was earned, yeah, but it's not going to be seen. He's keeping the gloves on for now. His Fate, just perfect healing coming through from the Dagger utility. And just having the initial ability to control that first fight was everything. Credit to Qadsiah, though. They're walking away with almost 2 ticks here. So it's far from playing for a draw. You can still play for a win.
I mean, I'm excited to see sort of where this one goes, really. Team Rad looking to take this series 2-0 to keep moving up in Group B. Now Qadsiah sort of like proving our point of what we said in the pre-show, that this isn't a squad that, despite some of the names being relatively unknown outside of a couple of faces that you might have seen in previous championships or invitationals, but that they are like a team that is developing very quickly. Maybe not a dark horse to be contesting the top or making the mid-season finals, but at the very least making playoffs and getting a couple of upset results if teams don't respect them.
A team that demands respect, a team that's scaling over time is the word on the street. These players learn so much from their scrims that some teams are like, I don't know if I want to scrim out Qadsiah because we'll just make them stronger. You know what? We like them where they are right now. If they could not scale, that would be perfect in some teams' estimation. Seems like Qadsiah once again are going to opt for a drug approach, not looking for any portal plays. Instead, they're just going to roll up and try and grab. Oh, they are going to be going up against Kaya on the group now instead of the Doctor Strange, however, which is going to make a grab from a Wolverine all the more dangerous.
I mean, Naga's grabs were pretty dangerous in itself, so whether they have the preparation for it, you don't have a Magneto shield up. much like support that can help you out individually if you take that much burst. You're just sort of hoping that Lindstrom has you covered with the cloak and dagger. But the angle in these fights, just trying to block off some of these players, they have to be a little bit careful there. I think it was Milk Boy, but he's managed to disengage the rest of the team, all moving in flock to try and take these fights. And Melio set up on the high ground, which is a very scary, precarious thing for Qadsiah to deal with. And that's the catch. Kai's been taken out first again.
Yeah, farewell to Kaya. Qadsiah going to be down their group right now, so it's solo Vanguard. Milk Boy standing up against the world. Has good damage coming out of the beam, though. Grabs Melio. Oh, this could be disastrous, actually. A huge amount of that damage is now lost, but Milk Boy's down as well. Kaya's coming back with the portal. Naga's just slashing away with the adamantium claws. Both the Vanguards will be returning. Too sweet for the side of Qadsiah. Kaya's got themselves back on the point, but look at this. Every last moment on the point needs to be contested. They were so close to getting it done, but Rad, by the skin of their teeth, will walk away with it.
Yeah, you can't say that this wasn't a close series despite it being a 2-0. And like, yeah, fair credit to Qadsiah, not quite necessarily on the same level just yet as Rad in some of these game modes, but it's fine margin to separate them. And if this is a team that's been able to sort of take scrims, learn from them, and just very quickly improve, this failure is a data entry, and there's a lot that they can take from it. So the next time that they go up against Team Rad, they're a little bit more prepared. They got their I's dotted, T's crossed, all that jazz. It was just really, frankly, down I think to some of the healing output the Cloak and Dagger had, but also Melio and Naga as the DPS just finding so many picks and so many good fights.
Yeah, really combining their ultimates perfectly here. Great game planning from Rad, and that's what we've come to expect from a roster with this much tenure on it, right? Like, they're so used to playing with each other that the game plans kind of have an intrinsic understanding. I think that we saw some great standouts, though, from Qadsiah. Even though they're going to be down in the elimination bracket, this is still a very dangerous team in EMEA.
Very dangerous. It feels very different, I suppose. Like, for Qadsiah, I think it's just... you're going to be disappointed to an extent of like you had a really close like first point that just came down to some of the ultimates not being used, or like positions being caught out, or just a bit unlucky in places. And even here, like a really cool strategy I think with the Moon Knight to do that much damage with the Yank, but just the follow-up of like, okay, we have this good start, how do we after that first pick move on to getting aggression on the objective?
Yeah,
really good series though.
Damage without final blows is it's Newton's laws, you know.
Yeah.
Equal and opposite reactions. If it didn't fall, then they've been healed, and that means that Fate's got an ultimate ready to go. And I think that Fate's early Eternal Bond really was what sealed this defense for the side of Team Rad. And well, it looks like they're not going to be disappointing their new org anytime soon. Still the same old Rad, same old consistency, same old excellence.
Yeah, the consistency is still there. Just pushed maybe a little bit more than what they were expected, but they get it over the line regardless. And yeah, I think for like the supports is a really key thing to mention because of the way that the picks and bans went. So many supports were taken out that it makes the lives of both teams just flat out uncomfortable. No Luna Snow, Loki intermittently, Mantis intermittently. For both sides, it really is just that backline of Fate and Level 1 Croc having a little bit more time together to sort of fill some of those gaps and just have good synergy to keep everybody topped up. That LG squad never died in the invitational event. It's the same here with Rad.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how Rad continues to scale. They're definitely one of the teams that can really bring it to a team like Virtus Pro. In EMEA, we've got some very high-tier squads. We're all looking forward to getting some international competition. Like NA versus EU has been kind of, in every esport, one of the most important battles. Yeah, NA versus EU, like, until the end of time, we're going to try and have that battle. And I personally think that EMEA are a little bit higher right now, but I might be biased. Rad, certainly looking excellent right now. I think they could probably take it to most of the top NA teams. They might be just below Virtus Pro, but hey, as we get through our season, it can get closer and closer. And to weigh in on this, we've got ourselves a member of Rad Esports to come and have a chat to us. Hello, Naga. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're playing in the kitchen. Very spicy. Like, how do you feel about Human Torch Festival? Because we saw you picking up the Human Torch even after the nerfs. Is it just better that you get to play him now because he's not permabanned?
Yeah, there are some scenarios where it's quite good, and when Luna and Loki is banned, you know, you often end up on Invest, so then you have the team up, and so it's a pretty solid pick. Sometimes, you know, when the hero's too broken, you never get to play it, but when it's like just the right balance, then he is actually open, you know.
I think for this this series against Qadsiah, because we've heard a lot from how solid of a team they are and how quickly they're improving. Obviously, like, remember you guys mostly from the Invitational, with Melio now as well. Like, and with the new ban system in the meta, like, who would you say on your team, you can say yourself, like, was the MVP for you guys? Because the supports took a drubbing and you were able to put out, like, so much support. You and Melio find the first kills, your tank line are trying to survive without Magneto. Like, what was the winning, like, role for you guys in this series? Because it was, like, a tough one. I think Qadsiah pushed you.
Yeah, they did push us, especially the second map. Oh, that's such a hard question. Who was the winning role? I don't know. I feel like on pretty much every role we had, you know, the advantage. But, I mean, I don't know. I would have to see that to make an actual good answer. So I would just be throwing a name, to be honest, you know. But, I mean, Raj, I would say, or maybe Crook. Fate also. You know, that's hard. That's a tough question. So maybe I can't give you an answer.
People have to keep asking that one. See if other players have a more concrete, like, yeah, I carried.
Croc's like, yeah, me. It's on me.
It's 100. Nago, at the moment, we're about to get deeper into our group stage. We're going to see all of our teams here in EMEA. How do you guys feel about your power level in EMEA at the moment? Do you think that you're, like, the strongest team? How do you feel like you're scaling as well? Are you improving over time a lot at the moment?
The power rankings change like so much from day to day. Like, you know, one day you beat a team very heavily, the next day they pulled out something that you're not prepared for and you have to find an adaptation, and maybe that doesn't happen during the block against them, right? So that's also why these like first to two is quite scary. It can really be, you really need to be there and ready to do what you have planned. We're definitely one of the best teams, even in the world, I would say, but we have things to work on for sure. There's some very good European teams, but we see ourselves wanting to be the best team in Europe and in the world, right? So it's not good when we don't convincingly beat everyone, right? So like, for example, today, the second map, not good enough.
There was definitely like a couple of curveballs, I think, from like the Moon Knight right at the end, where they sort of throw the yank down for the portal and stuff. Like, is that something, because there's so many little things like that, is that something that you've like experienced in scrims? Like, not necessarily from them, but for other teams? Like, are they the curveballs that you're talking about? Just like, okay, they just got Moon Knight ult in like 5 seconds. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, that is a curveball, exactly. Like, we haven't even experienced someone directly strange TPing on us twice on first point when we're defending it, right? It caught us off guard both times. So, you know, that, and that's like a micro play. Then there's like curveballs in terms of just playing like a different ban phase or a different composition matchup, you know? So there's so much that can be thrown at you that you have to adapt to. But yeah, that is a pretty good example, the Moon Knight.
Yeah, you guys adapted well, and I look forward to seeing Rand go even deeper into the bracket and show us all of your tricks. Thank you so much for joining us, Naga. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you play.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, let's have a quick review.